Performative femininity. You gotta be cute, gotta be a sugar ball, gotta be docile, and compete with every other woman in existence for a man's attention. All of you must be familiar with the term toxic masculinity, and if you're not, then watch this video of mine where I talk about it. However, what a lot of people aren't aware of is the foil to toxic masculinity, the toxic masculinity for women. Performative femininity. Let's analyze it through the lens of this beautifully drawn anime, Haru Ride. Haru Ride is a Japanese manga that tells the story of two high schoolers named Yoshioka Futaba and Tanaka Go. The story revolves around the adolescent problems they face and how both these characters navigate those problems, be it making friends, falling in love again, or being unapologetically themselves and not what others want them to be. The first episode begins with a flashback that Yoshioka has about her middle school. Back then, she used to be this cute, quiet girl who would never laugh with her big mouth open, who was super organized, and her feminine appeal was top-notch. This led to a lot of guys liking her and having a crush on her, and all the girls hating her because she seemed quote-unquote pretentious and desperate for a man's attention. This left her alone as no one wanted to be friends with her, so when Yoshioka goes to high school, she goes through a complete rebrand. She throws any sort of feminine appeal outside of the window and goes out of her way to gross out guys so she doesn't get popular amongst them. She sits like a boy on her chair, she's super messy, and she eats a lot. All of this in an attempt to scare away the guys and score brownie points with the girls. Such a girl's girl, huh? All of this is performative femininity. You know, when you see women represented in movies or anime, or when you see those old paintings of women where they seem so nurturing, so delicate, so soft and supple, and you subconsciously think that this is how I ought to be. A lot of people like to say that there's no parallel to toxic masculinity for women, but there is, and it's all around us. And the worst part is that it pits women against each other. Look at what happened to Yoshioka. She's isolated and ostracized by all these people because they're jealous of her, and she's this victim whose only fault is that she's so cute and so desirable and all the guys just like her so much. On one hand, it's so corny and toxic to present a main character whose only fault is that they're so perfect that people just want to take them down. It's giving Gretchen Wieners.
I'm sorry that people are so jealous of me, but I can't help it that I'm popular.
However, on the other hand, as sad as I am to admit this, it's real. This does happen. Women do be hating each other and being enemies to each other for a man, and it's all thanks to patriarchy. Patriarchy pits women against each other and narrows down their entire personality to a man. A woman's sole goal in a patriarchal society is to fight for a man's attention and rip all her rivals to shreds. Kinda like this dog who's shredding all these bitches that entered her territory. Sounds like a stretch? Well, take a look at this next clip.
双葉がラブとか似合わねえし
確かにありえないし
Yoshioka's so-called friend tells her that she's not cut out for love. She's well received by these girls who offer her sort of a girls' community, a sisterhood. She's a girl's girl because she is not a threat to them. She has instead adopted this persona of a tomboy, which has taken her out of the competition. And so she's not a rival to them, and hence she's accepted. But what would happen if she did become a rival to them? Then there's this girl in Yoshioka's class, Makita Yuki, who Yoshioka sees herself in. She's similar to how Yoshioka was back in middle school. She's quiet and cute, calm and kept, and similar to how all the girls used to badmouth Yoshioka back in middle school, all the girls in her high school in her class badmouth Yuki. At this instance, Yuki puts up a really good point.
自分でもぶりっ子なの分かってるんだけど、男の子の前だと緊張して自分作っちゃう。 でもみんながおしゃれしたりお化粧したりするのも人によく見せたいからでしょ。それと私の男の子に可愛いって思われたい気持ちと何が違うのかな。
We cannot talk about performative femininity without talking about the male gaze. I've talked about the male gaze a lot when I analyzed the character of Miss Bellum and Sedusa from the animated series The Powerpuff Girls. Male gaze is essentially the way men look at women, the way men like to see women. An internalized male gaze would be when you're looking at yourself in the mirror the way a man would. You then choose to act, dress, and carry yourselves in a way that would be attractive to men, thus pedestalizing them. We then start to value our interactions with men more than with fellow women. And we are all a victim of the internalized male gaze, including me. So back in high school and until the time I graduated, I was not at all into makeup, fashion, and all these girly things that were physically noticeable. I was into a lot of other girly things such as K-pop, Wattpad, and Mangatoon. You know, if you have read Mangatoon, you know what kind of stories there are, like the trope with like the overbearing seal. So you wanna play catch, girl? I change girls as I change my clothes, like you know that. And I'm very ashamed to admit this, but I loved that show back then. I used to eat it up. I know it's so problematic, it's so misogynistic, it's so chauvinistic. But see, if back in school you were like some enlightened person, very much critical, good, cheers to you. I love that for you. Back in school, I was dumb. Yeah, but these traits were not physically noticeable, as in you couldn't tell I was into them just by looking at me. However, when I entered college, I went through this rebrand and this makeover because I felt like I had to be into makeup and fashion in order to be attractive to men. Now, at this point, I've genuinely started liking fashion and I have an interest in clothes, but I still don't like makeup. I only wear makeup to look pretty, and I do feel pretty, but the thought process that goes behind putting on makeup is that I would not be pretty if I don't put it on. So following Yoshioka's journey where she's a girl's girl because she's not a threat to her friends, there comes a moment when her friends are again bad-mouthing Yuki. They're saying all sorts of stuff such as how she changes personalities around guys and how she deserves to be alone until Yoshioka has finally had enough of it. She stands up for Yuki and by extension herself. She tells her friends that they're no different from Yuki because at the end of the day, they too want the male attention. And if Yuki bothers them so much, why can't they just ignore her? At this moment, Yoshioka becomes a true girl's girl. Both Yuki and Yoshioka are these kind-hearted people who only want to make friends and be included. They never rub their popularity with boys in anyone's face. They never flex it. They don't even act like a pick-me. Yet they're still bullied because that is how patriarchy has programmed us, to see each other as rivals and not sisters. Remember how I said that Yoshioka was not a rival to her friends, but what would happen if she did become a rival to them? Well, she does become a rival to Yuki. So as the series progresses, both Yuki and Yoshioka find themselves to be falling for the same guy, our second protagonist, Tanaka Ko. When Yoshioka finds out that Yuki too has the hots for the same guy, she talks to her. She communicates her feelings, but at the same time, she doesn't stop Yuki from pursuing Ko. They both decide to try their shot with Ko, and both come to a mutual understanding that if Ko decides to go out with any of them, they would still be friends. Yoshioka here handled this matter so maturely. Like she could have easily turned it into a bad blood between her and Yuki and easily cut Yuki out of the friend group, but she didn't. And this is what a true girl's girl is and the kind of sisterhood that all women should be fostering.